Disclaimer. This video will be counting down my personal worst to best Bond actors, not the films. That will be another video.
George Lazenby only appeared in one Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. His performance at the start of the film is very dull and wooden. His line delivery lacks any kind of energy or memorability. It's a wooden and terrible performance. However, as the film progresses, his acting gradually gets better. So by the time the film concludes, Lazenby actually appears to be okay at acting, and at the most, quite good. It's likely that Lazenby's acting would have become less wooden in future films, but obviously we will never know for sure. This will undoubtedly seem like a controversial decision. However, I like Brosnan's performance as Bond, I just like the other ones better. Honestly, Brosnan's performance is sharp and quick-witted, but the issue I have is that there isn't much to set his Bond apart from the rest. Is he wooden like Lazenby? No, definitely not. In some scenes, he's actually quite an intimidating presence. The Brosnan-era films, bar GoldenEye, which is amazing, and Die Another Day, which sucks, are quite forgettable, and there's nothing in Brosnan's performance that makes the films any more memorable. Not a bad performance, just a tad underwhelming. Timothy Dalton was a more serious Bond than Roger Moore. In fact, the contrast between Moore's final performance in A View to a Kill and Dalton's debut Bond performance in The Living Daylights is staggering. Dalton was arguably too serious and didn't include enough humour, but he was simply following the directions of the script, and for that, he did a pretty good job. Especially in License to Kill, Dalton was seemingly playing Bond as a brutal assassin, something that would be done again and better by Daniel Craig. Dalton was also a classically trained Shakespearean actor, so that probably helped. People have thought of Dalton as a wooden actor, but I think not. It seems a tad unfair to rank Craig when he's still Bond, but he's done several films now and he's been Bond for quite a while, so whatever. His performance in Casino Royale is great, it's refreshing and real, or as real as the Bond character can get. Certainly a more humanised Bond, less like a superhero, more like a real person. Yes, this is down to the script to some degree, but it's also down to Craig as an actor. In Quantum of Solace, which is a terrible film, Craig's performance almost slipped below the radar as I'm constantly distracted by the quick cuts and the shaky cam. Basically, his performance is pretty good in Quantum of Solace, but nowhere near as memorable as his performance in Casino Royale. So far, his best performance has been in Skyfall. He had the edge of his performance from Casino Royale and some added humour. In Spectre, he really can't be bothered. His performance is flatter here and less energetic. In some scenes, Craig's great, but in most, he's just a very dull on-screen presence. Roger Moore didn't really act. Roger Moore played the silliest of all the Bonds, but despite the crazy and ridiculous plots, Moore's performance is charming and funny and engaging. It's not an Oscar-winning performance or anything, but Roger Moore owned the scene whenever he appeared. Even in boring expository scenes, Roger Moore was still entertaining. His films were pretty camp and have a distinct light-hearted tone, but his performance shines through, though it's not exactly the most layered and complex Bond performance. Sean Connery is James Bond. He was the first actor to play Bond in the official series. Everything about his performance just screams Bond, suave, charismatic, and with a slightly dark edge. It does help that Connery was the first official 007, but just in his first scene with the minimal dialogue he says, he owns the entire scene there and then. From that point onwards, Connery is the definitive James Bond. He was great in Dr. No, fantastic in From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and Thunderball, but in You Only Live Twice, his performance is downright shocking.
Positively shocking.
It's wooden and lifeless. Connery later quit the role of Bond, having grown tired of it. And my word does it show up on screen. Connery did come back for Diamonds Are Forever, but only because he was offered a gigantic fee, at least for the time, to return, which may explain why the film has a rather cheap and tacky aesthetic. His performance in Diamonds Are Forever is however a marked improvement on his performance in You Only Live Twice, but it is still nowhere near as good as his first 4 Bond performances. His appearance in the unofficial Never Say Never Again is a bit underwhelming. But it's an unofficial film, so I'm not entirely fussed. And the film itself is a bit crap, so it doesn't really seem out of place. While I'm on the subject of Bond actors, I may as well go into detail on my preferences for the next Bond. In terms of a specific actor, I don't have any as such. Mainly because whoever is cast won't be a name I've heard of or thought of. Craig's era has been much darker and grittier than previous eras, notably the Moore and Brosnan eras. Perhaps this means that the producers will take the franchise in a lighter tone, or maybe, given the box office success of the Craig films, the darker tone will continue. Personally, I don't mind. I just want a good Bond with a good script. If you liked this video and you are interested in what else I do, why not check out my other videos that I've made so far? And if you're really interested, why not click subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video.